C2 Wrestling Podcast back and better than ever. Before I get into the most important question in all of professional wrestling and all of podcasting worldwide, I have to remind you WrestleMania weekend. We will be live for WrestleMania night 1 and 2, April 19th and 20th. The FAP Reactions reunion live stream. We're going to have so much content coming that entire weekend, from reactions to videos to predictions, maybe a little 2K. Maybe we got some special videos in store that'll come out a little bit after. You got to be tuned in, you got to be tapped in. So make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and follow our social medias because we post all updates on what's coming. What is coming is now the most important question that I teased right before that. And that question is, how are you doing today, Snowden?
How am I doing today? The most anticipated thing every week. That question right there. I'm doing nothing too crazy. Basic morning, basic day. Got to do some grocery shopping after this video. So we can stretch this video for like 5 or 6 hours because I want to avoid that at all costs, if I'm being honest. But I'm going to turn it back to you. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I mean, I'm not looking forward to after this because I have to go to work. So
I'll grocery shop. It's no problem. Yeah.
it is funny how in life, something so small as grocery shopping, let's say it takes an hour out of your day.
Mm-hmm.
Say it takes you 10, 15 minutes to drive to the store, 30 minutes to do all the shopping, 10, 15 minutes to drive home. That hour, if someone was like, oh, watch this hour-long wrestling show or watch this, watch Evolve, watch whatever, that doesn't feel like an hour to me. I'll just sit there, watch it. Oh, yeah, that's great, whatever. Look at my phone a little bit, whatever. Time flies. Great, enjoy it. An hour of grocery shopping, it may as well be the wait outside for trying to get into WrestleMania in the blazing heat.
Oh my God. Listen, we've done that a time or two. We've done it in the cold. It wasn't too bad for us, but we've done it in that heat for Mania 33. Brutal, brutal stuff. Yeah, not a big fan of grocery shopping. Maybe I bump into Booker T, Stone Cold, maybe something cool goes down. So hoping for the best.
If you do, good luck and make sure you throw some combos, grab the milk before it goes out. It's slim pickings. But I mentioned WrestleMania. We're on the road to WrestleMania. And this is actually, we haven't mentioned this once, surprisingly, but this is C2 Wrestling's first WrestleMania. This is our
Yeah.
first Mania on this channel. So, you have to go big for the very first one. And we're doing it with the FAP Reactions reunion, the first time in years that all four of us are going to be together doing a reaction video, watching a wrestling show together, you name it. But since it's the road to WrestleMania, that means these shows are on fire. And we're going to get some weird time zone shows soon. So it's going to, videos and reactions and reviews are going to come up at weird times because we got 3 p.m. Raws, 4 p.m. Raws, you name it. But if those Raws are like the Raw we just got this past Monday, you could put it on at 5 a.m., you could put it on at 10 a.m. I'll find a way to watch it.
Yeah, I'll find a way to watch it. Whether I see it live or not, I will tune back to Monday Night Raw. This week of wrestling, Monday Night Raw, NXT so far, incredible. Two back to back 10 out of 10 shows, if I'm being honest. There was nothing to complain about on Monday Night Raw. NXT put on maybe its best episode potentially ever in last night's Roadblock Wednesday. We're filming this, recording this, I should specify. NXT, Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania. You could air it all at 3 a.m. I'm tuning it.
Yeah, SmackDown isn't as strong as NXT and Raw right now, but it still has its moments. I mean,
Yeah.
SmackDown to me has like people have to complain about something, so this is where the complaints are going to go. It's not as strong as Raw or NXT right now. It's not otherworldly, but it's not that bad that people make it out to be.
No, it's not that bad at all. Obviously 2 hours would be better. And once we get back to that, hopefully it improves a little bit. I think part of the problem is, you have Cody Rhodes, your main champion, who is feuding with a guy that we all want to see more of right now, but he's not really on TV. And when he does come back on TV, How much is it going to be SmackDown? Will it be on Monday Night Raw? Obviously, they've only moved to Netflix a couple months ago, but then moving to Netflix, they want Raw to be a little bit more prominent right now. Gunther, your world heavyweight champions on Raw, feuding with Jay. So SmackDown is kind of missing like that big main championship feud, you know? But everything going on around that, again, the SmackDown tag division is great right now. LA Knight just recaptured the US championship, looking to see where that goes. There's still great stuff going on. Raw and Netflix, though, Raw and NXT have kind of been on a different level as of late, though. And, more credit to them.
Yeah, I mean, SmackDown's got the people are praising the Jade, Bianca, Naomi story. I mean, that's been a SmackDown story these
Mm-hmm.
last few months. That's been solid. The SmackDown tag division, like you can't even compare it to Raw's tag division. As
Yeah,
great as Raw has been, their biggest lack has been the tag team titles and the tag team division, to no fault of the tag team champions. I mean, you're still getting here and there some great matches, like the New Day and LWO this past
great
Monday.
match.
Great match. But it feels like they're fighting because they just have beef. They have a rivalry. There's no real chase for the tag titles. SmackDown, on the other hand, I mean, it's like 7 teams fighting to be champions and has just made that a much more interesting division than Raw. But then, you start comparing the two and understanding some of the discourse. All right, was Rhea's title reign the most exciting thing ever? No. But now her match with Io was great. The promo of Io, Rhea, and Bianca was really good. So like you have a solid basis of a story for that title that people are kind of hooking into. People aren't really biting into this Charlotte Tiffy feud, which you and I had that worry. Like to me, Tiffy is just not this baby face. I know she's going to get cheered, but it's just her as like this underdog story with Charlotte just beating her up every week. Essentially, the Jay and Gunther build the last 3 weeks just ain't for me.
Yeah, it ain't for me. I actually seen on Twitter the other day somebody had posted a couple screenshots of the last few weeks of SmackDown, and all the screenshots were Charlotte standing tall over Tiffany in the ring, WrestleMania sign in the background, and they're both better heels. Tiffany is over. Don't get me wrong, very over, but is more a natural heel. I'm not sold on it. I do think this is the right match for this women's championship. Again, we've been saying this for a while that Tiffany should face Charlotte. Man, it's just not clicking though. Something about it is just not clicking. Maybe this is a hot take. Tiffany is incredible. Probably one of the better women talents they have. She's again over with the fans, good in the ring. Not often in comparison to men's wrestling. Wrestling has changed over the last few years. The women's roster, look at it now in comparative to 2010. It's 10 times the size. There's more talent on the women's side than ever. But the women don't get gimmicks as much as the men have in the history of wrestling. And you have somebody like Tiffany who has this kind of like brat gimmick that would work so well as a heel. And I don't feel like they're kind of utilizing it. I recently said I feel like Roxanne, they kind of are doing the same thing with on the other side, where Roxanne is a heel, kind of getting called up and feuding with Bayley, but she has like mega Bayley like baby face potential, in my opinion. She'll get her turn and get that big baby face moment. Don't get me wrong. Tiffany, though, obviously was a heel. We were on board of them riding out the Tiffany Nia tag team for a while. We wanted Nia to go double champ, win those tag titles with Tiffany. Something about her and Charlotte, I still think Charlotte's just going to win the belt, unfortunately. I don't know if Tiffany's going to retain. I would prefer Tiffany to retain, but I'm at that point where honestly, I don't really care.
Yeah, see, but the build with like Charlotte just constantly getting the upper hand of like sneak attacking Tiffany. Look, this Friday they're I forget what country they're in, but SmackDown is
Muscles?
overseas. Yeah, I think it might be Brussels, Brussels sprouts. Um, they have Charlotte in a match. She's facing B-Fab.
Yes.
So does Tiffy do to Charlotte what Charlotte's been doing to her? The sneak attack, possibly. Is that how we're building it? Doesn't really do much for me. I get it. I've been harping on there's still a month till Mania.
Mhm.
So, a lot can change in that time. And there's been a little bit of, just kind of buy time with some of these stories. But I just don't think this story in particular, I don't want to say I'm completely out of it because I'll always give things a chance. I'll always give something a chance to grab me back or change my opinion. I love to have my opinion changed and be wrong. I'm just looking at the other stories for the Mania build. They're just not even comparable. And like I'm one of those guys who like I'm a Charlotte defender. I am like Charlotte is the GOAT, the best woman to ever do it. Like you when you watch Charlotte when she is at the top of her game, like you can see the difference between Charlotte and like a large portion of the roster. So this isn't like a knock on her, and I obviously love Tiffy. It's not a knock on Tiffy. This story just maybe because it was the most like expected Mania match. That's why it just doesn't have it with me. I don't know. Maybe it is the case of maybe predictability here isn't the best thing and they could have went a little wonky with the matchup or something like that. I just don't see it changing or at the very least getting my attention that even the triple threat that seems to be building for the women's world title has.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned your take on Charlotte because this is again maybe a little bit of a hot take, but Charlotte is absolutely the upper echelon of women's in-ring competitors. I still am under the belief that Charlotte is cringy, on the mic isn't really for me, things like that. Charlotte, I think, is burned for a lot of people. She obviously had a bit of time off, returned at the Rumble, don't get me wrong, with a bit of time off prior, but she was just so forced down throats for a while that I feel like I still have this like burn on Charlotte. Like I just don't really care right now to see Charlotte. And then again, this women's roster has built up so much more potential that like I don't know if we really need Charlotte as much anymore, as crazy as that sounds. Her coming in winning the Rumble, predictable, don't care, didn't really want that, don't need Charlotte winning the Rumble. I think also in hindsight, this is maybe something where Money in the Bank hurt them a little bit here, honestly. I think putting it on Tiffany. You have your moment of Tiffany winning the title, which in theory was a big moment, but hasn't been talked about that much, isn't really played back. Like, I don't know if that was as big of a moment as they wanted it to be in hindsight. Big for Tiffany, yes, but would the bigger moment have been Tiffany as a babyface being the one to win the Rumble and then go face Charlotte at WrestleMania one way or another? Get her babyface moment at WrestleMania instead of on that random SmackDown. Maybe this build could be a little bit better if Tiffany were the chaser. Charlotte chasing the title for the 100th time. It's tiresome.
Yeah, I don't know if like specifically that route would have me more interested because we'd probably be saying the same thing on the flip side, like, oh, Charlotte as champion, I just don't care for it. Like, this is just another Charlotte title reign. So I think that's kind of more of like the common denominator. Like, we're trying to change things with, oh, what if they did this with Tiffy? What if they did this with Tiffy? I think it just really comes down to I'm not as invested in a Charlotte match as you know, years past because she's been so oversaturated, because we've seen so much of her. So even if Charlotte went in as champion and Tiffy was the challenger, I don't think I'd be any more interested than I am right now because it's kind of that common denominator. You can make the argument, look, I know people are going to be like, you say you didn't want this and you'd prefer this. You could make the argument that Tiffany versus Nia was a better story to build towards Mania and have that be your Mania title match. Whether it be Tiffany cashes in on Nia and then it's Nia making her life a living hell for stabbing her in the back and it's Nia getting her rematch at Mania. Maybe it's a little bit farther down the line. I don't know. Maybe Nia wins the Rumble, whatever. Yes, I know it's not the sexiest outcome, but story wise, I mean, at least that story's got more legs to it than just Charlotte's the greatest of all time and Tiffany wants to beat her.
Yeah, again, dating back to the Charlotte Rumble win, like it's just forgettable. It didn't really need that again. I think, the difference in, say, Tiffany winning the Rumble and, maybe Charlotte beat Nia for the belt at the Rumble and, was champion going in. I think that more sets up the idea that Tiffany is going to win at WrestleMania, where she still could, don't get me wrong, but, if I'm a betting man, Charlotte doesn't lose much, So
Yeah.
you really have this expectation that Charlotte's going to win the belt. If she doesn't, I don't know what Tiffany does next. I don't know what Charlotte does next. If Charlotte wins the belt, Tiffany can chase it back. You have other people that can come up and kind of be going for it. So I see why they might want to put the belt on Charlotte, but I don't think we're in the minority in saying that people are just over the Charlotte runs.
As we've said though, not every title is changing hands at Mania.
Correct. Yep.
It's as much as, Mania normally is like the start of a new season and it feels like title changes are meant to happen there. Not every single title is going to change hands and then poof, we're on to the next season and there's all these new champions. Like I could see like a guy like LA Knight, for instance, he just won the title right now. Am I completely sold that he would lose his Mania title match right now? I don't know who his opponent is, but probably not. He just won the title. Like feels like it would be kind of quick. Who knows? Tiffany kind of falls under that as a betting man. You pick Charlotte because she's the New England Patriots. She's the Alabama football, like when in doubt, you pick her. She's the safe pick. They normally win. But does she this time? Is it really the smart decision to have Charlotte win? Say she does win. Then what? Who the hell does she face? Who the hell is the feud for Charlotte for the title? Like, what even do you do? You run Charlotte Tiffy back again and then what? Like, there's just so many more avenues it feels with Tiffy.
I think this can run back the conversation we just kind of had about SmackDown being a little bit under NXT and Raw right now. I think what SmackDown needs more specifically, all brands can use, is that post Mania draft. I think that can kind of set some stuff up, put some things in motion. If you put that title on Charlotte and then, I don't know, Lyra Valkyria drops the IC title, maybe you can run a Charlotte Lyra feud. You have another like up and coming talent that can be chasing after Charlotte. Again, that women's roster has changed over the years, but there's a couple of those staples like the Charlottes, the Baileys, the Natalias, Naomi, even Bianca's been around for a while. Ray has been around for a bit. I don't need to see them run back feuds that they've already ran. I want fresh opportunities for a lot of them. Out of all those names just mentioned, Bianca Rhea is the only feud between those two women that I'd be looking to see. I need something fresh. And a Charlotte title run isn't that to me. Maybe the feud that she can have with it could be. So I'm not 100% against it. I also have trouble thinking what Tiffany would do next if she were to retain, though. Who does she have coming after her?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, Jade's now back in the mix. She's going to face Naomi. Also, kind of falls in line to if Bianca wins the title and then is on Raw, or if Bianca loses this triple threat match and reverts back to SmackDown. Because, Bianca would probably be top of the list for being in the main event scene of the women's division, but she's kind of got her hands tied with a few things. I mean, she's the first name that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Io retains the belt of WrestleMania due to some like Rhea, Bianca beef, whatever it may be. But I also can see a world where they want to put that title on Bianca. So you have the eventual Bianca Jade title feud. SummerSlam fits the bill for that potentially. Jade, they are obviously big on, had some time off. The return is huge. There's obviously potential there for Jade. I think Jade Bianca is the feud for Jade. I also think Bianca Rhea is the feud for Bianca. So they have at least two avenues they can go there. Io retains the belt. No shit against Io. I'm on record saying I think she's literally the best women's wrestler probably of all time. But if Io retains, what does Io do next? I just don't see the vision there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know what her health is, but like if Asuka came back and turned
Yeah.
on Yo or something, that'd be something I'd be down with. I do have a fear though with this matchup This might be a triple threat just so Io can take the pin and they save the Jade Bianca one-on-one match for an even bigger moment, whatever that may be. Like that has crossed my mind a bit as soon as Io became the champion. Like, are they just they're having her come in as champion so she, it's not just a complete like mush of her. She's the
Yeah.
champ going in and she's gonna eat the pin and she got a pin on Rhea. So a piece of me is like, she just pinned Rhea. I can't imagine Rhea also getting pinned at Mania. She doesn't get pinned much. Then so if you're ruling out Rhea winning or Rhea getting pinned, I also am not really positive that Rhea wins the match. So you kind of just put it down to Bianca and Io, and if Io pins Bianca, I mean maybe that's from Jade or Naomi gets involved or something. I could see that route. But it feels like the most logical outcome of this is going to be Bianca pins Io, and they keep leading towards the Bianca versus Rhea.
I can kind of see though Bianca pinning Rhea because Rhea did just take a pin from Io not too long ago, and I think that can further the Io didn't get pinned. Maybe she gets the rematch on Monday Night Raw within the coming weeks. But what keeps Rhea at odds with Bianca is Bianca kind of finagled her way to a victory, not in a heel way, but Rhea's been showing some heel tendencies. Not that she's going to full blown turn heel, but I can see her taking the pin and having that like I'm pissed at Bianca type route for a little while. But you kind of had mentioned it there, Bianca having this kind of Jade Naomi triangle as well. There's other storylines for Bianca right now, so I don't know if they're gonna do the Jade or not Jade. I don't know if they're gonna do the Bianca Rhea route directly after Mania. I think you almost have to push Bianca towards Naomi and Jade. It would make no sense for Bianca after WrestleMania to just forget about the whole Jade Naomi situation.
Well, that's why I said like they could potentially either get involved and cost Bianca, or it could be Bianca's first title defense is her facing Naomi,
Mm.
defending her title, whatever the first pay per view is after Mania, and probably in a different country. Wouldn't be shocked if that was her first title defense. On the topic though of this women's triple threat match, which has in the last few weeks definitely elevated interest compared to a few weeks ago. It's brought the discussion back on what should main event WrestleMania night one. And you start looking through the options. Look, Cody Cena is Mania night two main event. They may not, publicly announce it. They may put on the facade, oh, it could be anything. Let's be honest. Let's
Yeah.
all put on our thinking caps. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes will be the main event of night one. Now, or main event of night two, sorry. Now, the options of main event night one, doubt it's going to be Tiffany versus Charlotte. Doubt it's going to be Gunther versus Jay. Leaving you with the two triple threats, which one of them isn't even a triple threat yet. The other one isn't even a match yet. We're just going off of context clues and how the booking seems to be going.
Yeah, you said it. Night two, put on our thinking caps. It's John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. That's a night two main event. Night one, I don't want to hear it. It's the triple threat between Roman, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. And there is no other option to even consider main eventing over that triple threat. We just kind of talked over Tiffany and Charlotte and how that feud hasn't quite been it. I can guarantee the wrestling fans online are going to be, why is this not main eventing? This should be night one. It should be the night two main event. The women deserve it, this, that, or whatever. It is not shade on the woman to say they should not main event over three of the biggest wrestlers of all time facing off at WrestleMania. Things draw in wrestling, everything draws, everything they put on TV pulls fans in to some degree. There is levels to it. Women's wrestling is more over than it's ever been. It has not surpassed the men's division of wrestling. It is a bit more hard hitting. It's a bit more impactful. It's a bit more meaningful, I feel like, to a lot of hardcore wrestling fans. And I just can't see a world, especially this year, where not even just the women, any other match would main event night one over that. Jay Gunther, we've been saying since the Rumble that that is not the main event. There's no way.
And to kind of add to that, look at NXT. I'm wearing the shirt right now.
Mm-hmm.
The women are constantly in the main event because the women are, first off, bigger names. Second off, more interesting stories. Third off, bigger matchups.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they are constantly main eventing over the men in pretty much a lot of big shows nowadays. Like a lot of their relevant shows, the women are the main event. Just yesterday, this past Tuesday, Roadblock, one of their best shows they've had in forever. You had the Hardys defending the TNA tag titles on it against Fraxium. You had your NXT championship being defended by Obafemi defending against the TNA X Division champion Moose. You had a damn street fight. None of those were main eventing over the women. The women were the main event because it's the best story, it's the bigger names, it's the most interest, it's the whole combination. You start putting that conversation to the main roster, that's why the main event will most likely be Punk versus Rollins versus Reigns. Now, I do have a gripe about the Punk Rollins Reigns triple threat, and it is not what WWE is doing. It would not be a C2 Wrestling podcast if we did not reference a post on Twitter that absolutely infuriated us. If I have to see another fucking post about people being like, Punk wins the triple threat and then gets inserted into Cena versus Cody night two. If I have to see that dream scenario one more time because of Punk's promo, I've got news for you people. They are doing what they should be doing. Anybody and everybody is referencing John Cena turning heel because it's one of the biggest moments in wrestling history. Randy Orton referenced it. I'm not sitting here like, ooh, Orton beats Owens night one and then he gets inserted into the main event. I mean, he's got just as much history with the both of them as CM Punk does. I'm not, Carlito referenced John Cena turning heel. Maybe Carlito is going to get a match with Braun Breaker and then he'll get inserted into the main event. CM Punk will face John Cena at some point. He'll probably face Cody Rhodes at some point as well.
You know, I actually just got breaking news. C2 Wrestling's been mentioning the John Cena heel turn. So I think we're going to be in the main event
We're
of
in.
WrestleMania night two. We might get a matchup
We did
against
it.
Cody Rhodes and John Cena. That's all we had to do.
Let me
Was
take
just
the
was
risk.
just talk about it a couple times. Then we crack some knuckles, get a good stretch on the ropes,
I get you're interested in it. I fully understand. I'm interested in it too. I'm excited for the eventual CM Punk versus
So,
Cena, CM Punk insertion. It makes no
yeah,
fucking sense.
listen, you can be interested, but you're fucking clueless. You're watching a different show. If you really listen, we fantasy book all the time, especially between ourselves, even off this channel. We've thrown out wild scenarios, things they can do that could be great. We've also booked what they do months out in advance because we can kind of see the route. Again, we are intelligent enough as wrestling fans to see what's coming. And if you can't map out that Seth Rollins is going to get a one-on-one match with Roman Reigns, and then CM Punk is going to cash in that favor to get inserted not only into a triple threat with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, but into a WrestleMania main event for the first time that has been ever so deserving of. You're not watching the same show. If you don't see that coming, you're not watching the same show. He's not. Why would he cash in Paul Heyman's favor to go face John Cena and Cody Rhodes? There's no affiliation there at all. Paul Heyman's not the GM. It doesn't make any sense to begin with. CM Punk is in the probably best stage of his entire career, if I'm being honest. This guy's kind of done it all in that previous WWE stint, but this is like the second coming of Phil Brooks, and he is outside of Cody Rhodes and John Cena. He's the most deserving WrestleMania main eventer right now. He's had including the Rumble, 6-7 matches since he's come back. Absolute bangers, all of them. None of them have been bad. In the ring, on the mic, CM Punk is the guy. I'm going to map it out one more time. One-on-one Romans versus Rollins. Cashed in on that favor. CM Punk gets inserted into the triple threat. It's so simple to see that. I don't know where some of these fans come up with these opinions. And, you know, a lot of these fans online, they're 12 years
Yeah.
old. You know,
Yeah.
we were 12 years old once. I'm sure at 12 years old, I made some outrageous claims as to what was going to happen. But I still feel like, honestly, at 12 years old, you can kind of track what wasn't going to happen.
Like, I saw this comparison and it made no sense to compare the two. The comparison was of Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 beating Triple H and then being inserted into the main event. You know, that was that story, those two stories correlated. The only correlation between Cena and Punk is that Cena beat Punk in the chamber,
Yeah.
which isn't actually a real correlation. Like the what happened in the chamber was Rollins screwed Punk. That was the part of the chamber that Punk has to harp on, that Punk has to
Mm-hmm.
settle. He will get to his issues with John Cena at some point. I will say, I understand if you think it is a bit underwhelming that Punk's favor cash in is him getting inserted into the triple threat or something like that. If that's your thought process, that's your opinion, you are more than welcome to have that opinion. I personally like it. I kind of dig it. I can understand someone having that gripe that kind of feels a bit underwhelming. I understand that. But if you think that sentiment and then go, his favor has to be he gets inserted into some gets the chance to be in the main event. Like they may as well be. They're not in the same town. They're not on the same road. They're not in the same city. They're not in the same country. They're on different planets right now of their stories.
You know, the affiliation with Paul Heyman is with CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns doesn't have a championship right now. He's running around without one. What else could CM Punk possibly cash in a favor for? Heyman doesn't have that type of character now. He's not the GM again. He can't just make the matchups. Oh, hey, Paul Heyman, I want to go face Gunther tomorrow night for the championship. No, it's just they would never do that because it doesn't make any sense. I can envision the triple threat going any which way. I think there is a story where Roman can win, Punk can win, Rollins can win. And I know this match isn't official yet, but it's unofficially official. It's as clear as day that this is going to happen. I do think the best route is CM Punk winning this match for the idea that he is in this kind of second coming of CM Punk. He's had such a great run, but he hasn't had that title match yet. I can see the Roman and Rollins beef kind of letting Punk get that, not sneaky win, but he'll overcome the odds and get that win. I can see CM Punk pinning Rollins. You know, maybe Roman doesn't take the loss, but I see Punk getting the win over Rollins. Countering it with, John Cena, I think, winning the championship. And we get an eventual CM Punk, John Cena championship feud over the year. Maybe it's SummerSlam. I prefer Money in the Bank. I think you run it back. We're going to be at SummerSlam. No, so part of me wants to see that at SummerSlam. I mean, I can't say no to that, but I can envision it going anyway. I think there is a route for Roman to win. And then, hey, Roman wants another title match. Rollins can win. Rollins wants a title match. That triple threat, particularly more than any other match on the PLE, is pretty much a number one contenders match, in my opinion. How does whoever wins that match not get a championship match? Maybe not at Backlash the following PLE. Maybe Punk pins Rollins, and then goes one-on-one with Rollins one more time. But eventually, the winner of that match is going to be the number one contender.
That match to me, for when we get to the point of doing predictions, that match, maybe not the FAP reactions predictions where we have to give a legit who's going to win this match and, whatever tiebreaker scenarios we have in there as well. For the C2 podcast prediction, that might be a match that we have to do the same prediction of the Elimination Chamber, where it was, okay, we may or may not pick who we think is going to win, but each person has a legitimate case as to why they're going to win. And we can lay that out for each person. And literally, you can spend plenty of time talking about each one, their potential stories, the fallout from the match, their future, whatever. All of them, it's a match where if I wake up the next day and I miss the show and you say, "Hey, Rollins won," be like, "Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah, he got the big win." "Oh, Reigns won." "Oh yeah, it is Roman Reigns." Like makes sense.
Yeah,
"Oh, Punk won." "Oh yeah, makes sense." Like he beat his two biggest rivals right now. Yeah, completely get it. Now he's gonna get a shot at the title. Like all three of them, I completely can see winning with ease and not be confused as to why that person won.
absolutely. I guess there's an argument that most matches you can often make a route for both people, but not always. Not really often in triple threats either. Usually there's like an odd man out that you can go, okay, this person's not winning the match. But again, there's an avenue here for everybody. I do think the most prominent thing is that the Roman Rollins beef weighs a little bit heavier than the Punk Roman or the Punk Rollins beef. Heyman getting involved helps that Roman Punk kind of at odds type situation. But I very well can see at the end of that match, Roman and Rollins, standing tall, facing off, yelling at each other, screaming at each other, throwing punches back and forth. Maybe Roman hits the spear. CM Punk sneaks in out of nowhere. GTS or somebody takes the win. And it all just makes sense to me. They have had this planned since War Games. Have plans changed slightly? Could they have? Maybe. Have they? I don't think so. I think this has been the plan since War Games because of the favor. You can't, not that you can't, they could have done that favor angle and then just forgotten about it. The fans will never forget and always kind of tear them up for not continuing that. But I don't think we live in that era of wrestling anymore where they would do something like that, barring anybody getting injured. It's not like Roman took a knee injury and can't go this WrestleMania, so they have to change plans. It all just makes sense to me. I think there's more of an argument that Roman wins over Rollins, I'd say. I think Rollins is maybe that odd man out if I had to choose one, because I think the Rollins heel turn is imminent, and he kind of maybe needs that one more big loss to just go berserk, turn heel, be the bad guy again. Another natural born heel.
Yeah, but if you told me Rollins wins, like I wouldn't be
I wouldn't be like,
surprised.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I'd be
100%.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, makes sense. He also like never loses to Roman, so like I could
yeah, it's a
completely
good
see
point.
him
Yeah,
pinning Roman, and
yeah.
he has that one final match with Punk to settle it since they're technically 1-1, whatever. Going back though to War Games, it's pretty clear, and like people have had their complaints. It's pretty clear that Mania is shaping out how they've planned it for quite some time.
Yeah, and it definitely has. I think everything we have gotten so far leading into this mania has been planned since at least War Games, not even just this triple threat. And again, things are maybe subject to change a little bit. I don't think they have really changed though. I think Triple H and Co have really created this environment to kind of dupe the fans into thinking so much is possible. And I mean, John Cena fucking turned heel. So
Yeah.
anything's possible at this point. But even the heel turn, there's rumors The Rock wanted Cody. They said no, this, that, whatever. I still think that idea has been on paper fucking since John Cena was in Toronto before the chamber and made that face promo that he's retiring. Yeah, I really think like that was a pitch way back then. Like, do we pull the trigger and turn John Cena heel? And they kind of worked it out and made that happen. It's all got me so tuned in right now, man. I really am. Every WrestleMania season, even the worst WrestleManias, I am WWE, WrestleMania, Road to WrestleMania. I'm ready to go. This one, just like last year and the year prior and the year prior, I'm more tuned in than ever.
It's hilarious though that like not to pat ourselves on the back because we don't deserve it here. People that jumped off the Rollins Reigns Punk story like at the very beginning where
Yeah.
it's like not even giving a chance on the story. I mentioned before like Charlotte, Tiffany, like look, I'll keep giving it a chance. I just don't think it's ever going to get me. People jumped off that story so early as if this is not three of literally the greatest of all time doing it.
These are like, I think people need to realize that these three guys will not enter the Hall of Fame together because they have to enter as the top Hall of Famer. So it's going to be 3 different years where we get Roman, Rollins, and Punk because they're three of the best of all time. The Shield will go in eventually, and Roman and Rollins going together. But
Roman's probably gonna be the first three-time Hall of Famer. Someone mentioned that to.
yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Bloodline, himself, and then of course the Shield
yeah,
wouldn't surprise me at all. And Roman might have 5+ years left. Roman could be a fucking 4-time Hall of Famer for
yeah,
all we know. I
yeah.
have no idea. But man, I feel like that stomp from Rollins to Roman at the Rumble. I feel like before the Rumble was even over, I'm seeing tweets of people being like, "I don't want this. This is shit." Blah 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 blah. Oh my god, go watch a different fucking company. Then I don't know what to tell you. If there's things to complain about in wrestling. Of course there is. I think WWE is better than it's ever been right now. It defeats the Attitude Era. It defeats the Ruthless Aggression Era, the Black and Gold era of NXT. Those are maybe the most three prominent eras in wrestling. And we're wiping them out right now. And maybe it's hard to tell that in the moment, but hindsight's always 2020. In 10 years, people are going to look back at that new era, the Triple H era, whatever this will be referenced as the greatest era of all time. I can't find a reason to complain about almost anything we're really getting. There's little nitpicky things, but what is there fully to be like, no, fuck this, switch it up, put Punk in the John Cena Cody Rhodes match. This is garbage. It's not like Punk was booked to face Tozawa. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I will cause an absolute outrage though if AJ Styles faces Logan Paul one-on-one and loses.
Yeah, that
That
one, that's a big one, actually.
I
Yeah, yeah.
will Papa H, I've always had my trust in you. I don't care if it's, oh, he's gonna cheat and you're supposed to. I don't give a fuck. You do not do my king like that.
Yeah, Styles has to win. That is one that if he doesn't, I will call up Logan Paul Levesque and start yelling at him a little bit for that one. Uh, Styles, again, he recently said it, I believe, on Chris Van Vliet's podcast that he's not got a lot of time left. And I don't think he takes an L here to Logan. I think Styles is the guy that towards the end will be putting people over. But what's the best way to put him over? Maybe with him as champion. I really think Styles is deserving of a world heavyweight championship run before his career is over. Styles, one of the GOATs, the greatest of all time wrestlers, a longer WWE career than TNA career, if I'm correct at this point, which is crazy in hindsight. But Styles, Logan, no reason for Logan to win. We just laid out the triple threat and how there's a path for everybody. There was not a path for Logan winning that match, in my opinion.
It's not impossible that they both kind of get into the mix for the Intercontinental title and it becomes a
Mm-hmm.
multi-person. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not impossible. I mean, Styles and Braun Breaker clearly have this thing going on that has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat. I think it is a little bit of the intertwined booking that we've
Mm-hmm.
talked about, and maybe that does lead to the multi-person match for the IC title. Not impossible, but just basing it off of the last 2 weeks of Monday Night Raw, you've had Braun prominently against the Judgment Day, and you've had Styles prominently against Logan Paul. Again, I mentioned we're still a month away from Mania. Very easily could have Styles interaction backstage with Braun Breaker or Logan Paul interaction backstage with Braun Breaker, whatever, and they all get intertwined again and it leads into a multi-person match. Not impossible. If it is just straight up one-on-one matches or whatever,
Styles.
I can't have Styles lose. I
Yeah,
can't.
I mean, we are firm believers that the people that deserve to be on the Mania card will be on the Mania card. And if you didn't make the cut, you didn't make the cut. I do not want people forced onto the card. But I do have to say, out of all the wrestlers that are like, are they going to be on the show? Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. They might make it, they might not. Braun is IC champ. He'll be on the show. Logan, whether you like him or you hate him, he's fucking great. He'll be on the show. Even if he isn't great, he's great for the business. He'll be on the show. Styles obviously will be involved. So there's three guys right there. Ludwig and Penta both deserve to be on the card. So you got maybe a little bit of a multi-man match brewing there. I don't know how it would really further many things outside of Logan and AJ, though. I can see that maybe happening, and then Logan and AJ face off at Backlash perhaps the following month. It doesn't matter when Logan and AJ face. AJ has to go over. One of my biggest gripes with AJ Styles is, man, that like 2018, 2019, whatever year it was, to really now, that run of AJ Styles is arguably wasted. There's a tag title run in there with Amos, which, no shade to Amos, he went to Noah and did his thing, and he's looking better than ever, and I hope to see him back. But it feels like we lost a couple years out of that AJ Styles career, and I really need him to have an incredible, or I should say, phenomenal last 2 years.
To play devil's advocate, there were some, you know, alterings like COVID hit
Mm-hmm.
and Styles faced Taker at Mania, which
Yeah,
the Boneyard match,
it's Taker's final fucking match. It's crazy.
It's Taker's
Styles
final match.
retired
Yeah.
the Undertaker. Yeah.
Yeah,
Imagine
that's his.
hearing that when Styles was in TNA. That's going to be the guy that retires the Undertaker.
Yeah, which is like I don't even know what I would have said. So like that part did still happen. He did still have like his feud with Cody. I know he didn't end up winning, but the matches were phenomenal for lack of a
Mm-hmm.
better term. There was some mixes in there where it's like, where's he been? He did have a few injuries here or there. The LA Knight feud was still solid,
Mm-hmm.
produced some good matches, but it's tough to compare that stretch to his like first stretch of when he debuted in like 20, was that 2015?
Face that runs the
Yeah,
place.
2016.
Yeah,
Yeah.
SmackDown Live era.
January 2016, that Rumble to like 2019, like that 3 year stretch compared to the next like five. It's tough to say the last five are better than the first three because they were unreal from his debut to his feud with Roman, which really gets forgotten about. But those were
Mm-hmm.
two fantastic matches. To his feud with Cena, which was fantastic, to then becoming WWE champion and being the face of SmackDown.
Yeah, it's interesting where when you have a guy that's on the kind of end of his career, like AJ Styles, again, one of the best of all time, and you look at the roster and you go, wow, there's still so many guys that I would love to see Styles face. And, it seems like he's going to get that Braun Breaker match eventually. That's one of them up there. But we are crazy if we don't book Gunther versus AJ Styles at some point. That is maybe one of the most must see AJ Styles matches, in my opinion, out of what's left on the table. Maybe it's not for a championship, assuming Gunther loses this championship at WrestleMania. But again, 48 going to 50. I need a championship run out of Styles in the end of his career. And it doesn't start with Logan Paul getting the WrestleMania win.
Completely agree. So, one final thing, keeping it with Monday Night Raw, because obviously SmackDown hasn't happened yet. Monday Night Raw and the road to WrestleMania. There's a few people that have relevant stories that also would fall into probably expect them to be on Mania or deserve to be on Mania. You mentioned Penta. Very interesting. He's got this feud with Ludwig. There's a chance this match with Ludwig ends it and he goes on to other things. There's a chance this match ends their little feud and they both go into the IC title. Plenty of possibilities. Sheamus has he even been on?
Not in a little while.
I like he's a guy who I could see sliding right back into the IC title feud story, especially if it's a multi-man.
He'll
But
get that title before he
yeah,
retires.
again, it feels like if he's going to get that win, it needs a couple weeks of the build up to it. The interesting aspect is we have this story that Ray Phoenix is pretty much signed to WWE. Now you also have the New Day, who just defeated the LWO again, as they mentioned on commentary, never lost to any iteration of the LWO. I thought that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Then you mix in Chad Gable returning in a mask, essentially.
Gracias.
Gracias. And some mystery guy, which people are buying into. Now, I'm more so of the belief that's probably just a dupe, whatever, he pays the guy to put on the mask. go on his way, whatever. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I could definitely see a WrestleMania match being a 6-man tag of Chad Gable and the New Day versus Rey Mysterio and the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I don't necessarily want that though, to be honest. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think you hold Ray Phoenix off till post Mania. Uh,
Agreed.
if I'm booking the New Day, I'm putting the straps on the New Day at WrestleMania. I mean, come on, you're putting the straps on the New Day. And again, we've said not every title is changing hands, but wrestling doesn't end at WrestleMania. It's every week, it's every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, all year long. And we said WrestleMania has been booked out since War Games pretty much. They have plans set in motion for what's going to happen post WrestleMania. And if you want to heighten that Raw tag division, New Day versus Penta and Ray Phoenix for the tag belts, a couple month feud between those guys is something special. I did say not too long ago in a podcast review, whatever it was, that I kind of want to see Penta and Ray stay separate for a little bit. I think Penta's momentum right now is too crazy to kind of put him in the tag division, if that sounds weird, maybe. But then again, you got his brother coming in. The New Day are like ultra heels right now. I can't say no to that feud. Maybe they get a short tag title stint, the Lucha Bros, and then maybe they separate for a little bit after that, and that's okay. But you gotta somehow figure out a way to get those straps in the New Day for that feud to happen. That is a feud that should happen for the belts. I just don't see it necessary to shoehorn Ray Phoenix in before WrestleMania at this point. I do also, though, think Chad Gable deserves to be on that WrestleMania card, and I don't know if there's many ways to get him in outside of maybe that 6-man tag, or maybe Penta does move on from the Ludwig feud and rehashes with Chad Gable, and maybe Gable's the 6th guy in the IC multi-man match, whatever it may be. Gable deserves to be on that card. Him pairing with the New Day, why wouldn't he just team with the Creed Bros?
Yeah, that's fair, and that's still very possible that he just teams with the Creed Bros, and that's the match: Gable and the Creed Bros versus the Lucha Bros and Rey Mysterio. Ray falls into the category of Ray's going to be on the card. Like Rey Mysterio is going to be on WrestleMania 41 in some way, shape, or form.
It's fucking Rey Mysterio. He'll be on every WrestleMania.
He's fucking Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
He's going to have a match. I would assume he's more likely to be in one of those mixed person matches. I don't see a Ray Gable one-on-one match getting a Mania spot. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't be completely against it. I just don't think that happens. So I would then have to assume it's a multi-person match. Who is Ray going to team with? Are they going to just do Ray and the rest of LWO versus American Made at Mania? Like, is that really it? Doubt it.
I see. I don't know though, because like you look back to last year and they really ran Lashley and the Profits versus Final Testament, which like in hindsight is just such a kind of throwaway match.
Also, a big part of the story as to why it's not impossible that we get Gable teaming with the New Day at Mania is him coming back in the mask, and the little like great swerve of the story. You can't forget that he's got to give some whoopings.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to give some whoopings to the Creed Bros and Ivy Nile, because he gave a direct order when he comes back, have some championship gold, and they don't. That's not far fetched. That I'm teaming with the New Day because you guys didn't hold up your end. You're getting some whoopings, and you're gonna watch how it's done as me with a legit former multi-time tag team champions take care of business, and they'll absolutely lose that match. Not a shot they would win that match. But that is an easy route for them to go, because him returning in the mask makes you kind of forget a little bit that the Creed Bros and Ivy Nile had one direct order and they didn't fulfill it.
I mean, this American Made storyline that they got going, exactly what you're talking about, does also make me think, there's a potential draft post Mania. Maybe the New Day goes to SmackDown and takes those belts, and then maybe Phoenix debuts and it's Ray, Phoenix, and Penta versus the Creed Bros as champions. I think the Creed Bros are in a similar boat as New Day right now, where both of them deserve tag team gold, and you kind of can't put it on both of them unless they're on separate brands. So maybe they do get separated a little bit. But Raw also, again, the tag division needs a little bit of a refresher. So I don't think bringing a SmackDown team over to Raw is that bad of an idea. But the moral of it is, to me, Ray Phoenix, as great of a talent as he is, I think he's fucking incredible. Been a fan since Lucha Underground. Been calling for him and Penta in WWE for years. But there's no reason to shoehorn him in pre WrestleMania.
I'm also not fully buying too much stock into this post Mania draft. I could
Yeah,
see
me
it being
neither.
more towards, Mania is the middle of April.
Uh-huh.
I could see the draft being closer to like a end of June. Even in the
Yeah,
fall, I could
like
see it. Like they
Money in the
did
Bank.
just have this shakeup.
Well, that's what steers me away from the draft, and it makes me think that the way they booked this WrestleMania, they needed to do that shakeup, unfortunately, which not crazy on that. I hate the shakeup type stuff. I
I mean,
want,
they did it, and then Bianca still won the chamber, and she's a fucking on
yeah,
SmackDown.
yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like I want separate brands. They don't cross over outside of the one match a year, whatever it is. Draft. I think after seeing this Mania build, I think they might try and slide in for like September, October, because it feels a little bit of like a dead period in the wrestling community, wrestling world. And it also is now able to help you set up your WrestleMania feuds, whatever you may want them to be. It's hard. If you do the draft directly post Mania and you have this idea that next year we want Cody Rhodes versus Braun Breaker, sure. We have to put them on the same brand. But then you also have a year to book other things, and things can pop up, things can happen, and you change plans. You do the draft around that September, October, and you have potential for war games, and then you have your potential for the Rumble, WrestleMania, and so on.
Yeah, with the draft at that point, you're really just looking at getting to the Rumble because that's where the road to WrestleMania starts. It's like where are the stories, You see the triple threat, you see those eliminations, you see Styles and Logan, that elimination. You're like, all right, you can kind of pair those together. That seems to make sense. Jey Uso obviously wins the Rumble. All right, that's a Mania match, whatever. Charlotte wins the Rumble. All right, that's a Mania match. So doing it in like a September roughly, you're really only filling until the Rumble on like random stories, I guess you could call it.
Mm.
And then it's your full blown Mania story. So it's much safer there. That's why I'm not buying this. We're getting a draft
Drafts.
quickly post Mania. Hell, we might. I don't know how crazy I would be on it. They did really just kind of shake things up. Like you mentioned, oh, what does Raw take one of these SmackDown teams? Like, well, they just took A Town Down Under.
Yep.
I know they're about to split, but like, you just took one of them. Do something with them first, or whatever. Like
Yeah.
get them in the mix. Yada yada. So I am excited. This is like the parts of Mania where you really got to tune in for not just Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. You really got to tune into this channel for seeing those little pieces. All right, they're going in this direction. We can already tell the big stuff. The big stuff's pretty much laid out. If it's not already announced, it's so close. It's on the 1 yard line. You know it's going to get there.
Tush push is coming.
The tush push. Philly's ready to roll. I got two Philly shirts on. Philly's ready to roll. Here comes the tush push.
You
You
don't
may
have
stop it
any
once.
other Philly shirts, right?
Not a single one. This is my
Not
only
a single one. Yeah,
this is
no
my
other
only Philadelphia
Philadelphia
stuff.
Eagles gear, nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You may stop it once. You ain't stopping it more than twice. That is a guarantee. So you got to be subscribed. You got to have notifications turned on because we are going to be cranking away at content and some weird upload times. Raw at 3 o'clock, then 4 o'clock, then 3 o'clock. I think SmackDown's at 3 o'clock this week.
I don't know what time Brussels and Belgium and all
Yeah.
these crazy countries operate at. So, point is, you got to have the notifications on to know when we are dropping these videos. It's going to be an absolute blast for not only WrestleMania weekend, but the entire build until then. It's been an absolute blast for these last 7 months doing this channel, and we are still just getting started, baby.